According to statistics, World War II was a global man-made disaster that spanned 6 years and involved more than 100 countries. The number of casualties and affected areas reached over 60 million. As more war relics are unearthed, long-hidden secrets have been revealed in large numbers, some of which have even rewritten our previous understanding of the war. Today, we'll uncover 10 of the most horrifying and shocking discoveries from World War II. Get ready to delve into dark stories that unveil the mysteries of one of the darkest periods in human history. In 1959, American engineers built an underground base in Greenland under the guise of polar research. On the surface, they drilled through the ice core and claimed to be conducting climate research. But the true purpose was to dig permafrost tunnels beneath the Greenland ice sheet to store hundreds of missiles and even attempt to launch them directly from under the ice. The base continued to operate under the secrecy of the Danish government. Later, in 1967, engineers believed that the Greenland ice sheet would continue to grow thicker, and their research projects might eventually be buried permanently beneath the ice and snow. As a result, they abandoned the base, leaving behind a pile of toxic materials. The current climate has dramatically changed, with the rate of ice formation no longer matching the rate of melting. Although these toxic substances remain buried 35 meters deep under the snow at the current rate of melting, they will not be covered by the end of this century. The ice in the camp area will begin to melt, potentially releasing a large amount of pollutants that remain in the base, including sewage, diesel, polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, and even nuclear waste. If these pollutants are released as the ice cap melts, they could cause immeasurable damage to the marine environment around Greenland. Currently, the United States and Denmark have not reached a consensus on who will clean up the nuclear waste and remove the hidden dangers. Remediation operations in this sensitive area would require large-scale excavation, which would be costly. This issue has led to tensions between Denmark and the United States. Although Denmark granted the United States permission to build the base in Greenland in 1959, it is unclear whether Denmark had full knowledge of the research and operations conducted by the United States at the base. Both the Danish government and the US military have not provided direct responses to this issue. During World War II, the United States established a unique special forces unit that was unlike any other. This unit didn't recruit regular soldiers, but instead selected artists, architects, actors, set designers, and engineers. They belonged to the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops of the US Army and were widely known as the Ghost Army. This Ghost Army consisted of 1,100 individuals. In their base, you might casually see 4 ordinary-looking American soldiers easily carrying a tank. By now, you may have guessed their mission: to confuse and deceive the enemy. Using the artistic talents and technical skills of its members, the Ghost Army created various props, such as inflatable tanks, inflatable jeeps, and inflatable cannons. They also used loudspeakers to play pre-recorded sounds of troop movements and fake radio transmissions. The primary goal of this deception was to draw the enemy's attention away from the real attacks by creating a false impression of large-scale movements, especially in the Eastern Front. The existence of this unit remained a secret for many years, and it wasn't until the 1990s that their story came to light with the declassification of certain documents. In 2020, the National World War II Museum in the United States held the first ever exhibition dedicated to the Ghost Army. According to the museum, this unit had an average IQ of 119, making it one of the most intelligent military units in human history. Their efforts saved the lives of approximately 15,000 to 30,000 American service members. One of the most remarkable operations of the Ghost Army occurred in March 1945. At that time, the unit consisted of only 1,023 soldiers and 82 officers, but they succeeded in convincing the Germans through sound and radio transmissions that a force of 40,000 soldiers was crossing the Rhine. This demonstrated that war isn't always about direct confrontation. Sometimes, a little soft power, in the form of clever deception, can yield extraordinary results. The Bismarck was a massive battleship built by Nazi Germany. Designed and constructed starting in the 1930s, it took 16 years to officially set sail. This battleship was known as the largest, strongest, and most powerful warship in German history, embodying the dream of the German military industry. Adolf Hitler himself even gave the speech at its naming ceremony. However, despite its formidable reputation, the Bismarck was destroyed on the 9th day of its maiden voyage and sank to the bottom of the sea, never to be seen again. The sinking of the Bismarck had a profound impact on the battlefield situation in Europe at the time, and it played a significant role in paving the way for Hitler's eventual downfall. It was widely known that the Bismarck was sunk during its maiden voyage, and it was considered one of the best ships in the British Royal Navy at the time. The sinking of the Bismarck by the British battleship HMS Hood became a rallying cry across the UK. The British used nearly half of the Royal Navy's resources to encircle and defeat the Bismarck, ultimately overwhelming it. However, there has been a fierce debate about the true cause of the Bismarck's sinking, as there was no conclusive evidence at the time proving that the British Navy was solely responsible, nor that the Germans intentionally sank the ship. This debate remained unresolved until 1989, when underwater archaeologist Robert Ballard discovered the wreckage of the Bismarck about 4,800 meters underwater. Upon hearing the news, 5 British research teams rushed to the site to uncover the real cause of the sinking. 3 additional neutral American expedition teams also joined the effort. After 2 years of research, Dr. McClellan of the American team argued that the hull of the Bismarck was still relatively intact, showing no obvious signs of being sunk by enemy fire. Instead, the traces of enemy artillery impacts suggested that the German crew of the Bismarck had intentionally scuttled the ship to prevent its capture. This theory was controversial, especially among British patriots, who refused to acknowledge that the Bismarck may have been deliberately sunk by its own crew. The true cause of the sinking may remain a mystery, known only to those who witnessed the battle firsthand. The Amber Room was originally constructed in 1709 by King Frederick III of Prussia in Germany, with the intention of imitating the opulent lifestyle of King Louis XIV of France. The panels and 12 pillars of the room were made entirely of amber, a material that was 12 times more expensive than gold at the time. The total weight of the Amber Room was at least 6 tons. It was also adorned with diamonds, gems, and silver foil. The room could be disassembled and reassembled into various shapes, showcasing the pinnacle of 18th century art and craftsmanship. Due to its exquisite design and intricate details, it became known as the 8th wonder of the world. In 1716, to symbolize the alliance between Germany and Russia, Frederick I reluctantly gave the Amber Room to Peter the Great of Russia. Upon its arrival in Russia, the room underwent further renovations, becoming even more luxurious and intricate. The reconstructed Amber Room was installed in the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, covering an area of 180 square meters. During World War II, Nazi Germany, known for plundering local treasures as they advanced, set their sights on the Amber Room, which they considered rightfully belonging to Prussia. After Nazi forces successfully occupied Tsarskoye Selo in 1942, the Amber Room was quickly dismantled, packed, and transported by train to the Amber Museum in Königsberg, Germany. In February 1945, as the Soviet Red Army invaded Königsberg, the Soviet government began searching for the lost treasure. Despite extensive efforts to locate it, the Amber Room was never found. Searches continued well into the 1980s, with some international explorers believing that the room was still buried somewhere in Königsberg. In recent years, a new theory has emerged, suggesting that the Amber Room was not in Königsberg, but was secretly packed up and sunk by the Nazis in a lake in Austria. During World War II, the Enigma cipher machine used by Germany was an incredibly complex and advanced device. At the time, it was considered nearly unbreakable. But why? The Enigma machine used a series of rotating wheels and a sophisticated circuit system to encrypt information. Each key press would cause the wheels to rotate a certain number of steps, altering the arrangement of the circuits and, consequently, the output characters. This meant that the same character could be entered at different times and produce different encrypted characters, significantly increasing the complexity of cracking the code. It is estimated that the number of possible combinations for each encryption was as high as 1.5 times 10 to the 20th power, or 150 followed by 19 zeros. In other words, even if you understood the principles behind the cipher machine, it would have been nearly impossible to crack manually. However, no matter how complex the system, brilliant minds still found a way to defeat it. In 1940, British intelligence, MI6, acquired a hidden secret machine at Bletchley Park. This estate later became the center of Britain's code-breaking efforts, where nearly 10,000 people worked tirelessly to crack the Enigma code. With the collaboration of code-breaking experts and the genius of Alan Turing, they eventually succeeded in inventing a machine known as the bomb This device could decrypt the German army's daily keys in under an hour. The bomb was a precursor to modern computers, and it was crucial in breaking the Enigma code. However, in order to avoid arousing Hitler's suspicion, Prime Minister Winston Churchill chose not to immediately counterattack. He allowed the Germans to succeed in certain operations, even knowing that they were planning an air raid on Coventry. Yet, when it came to critical battles, such as the Battle of the Atlantic and the North African Campaign, the British Air Force and Allied forces gained victories, which turned the tide of the war. In hindsight, Turing's work in deciphering Enigma is credited with shortening the war by at least 2 years and saving millions of lives. It allowed Britain to remain the last stronghold of the Allies during the darkest moments of the war, holding out until the eventual Allied victory. Bad Arolsen is a small town in Germany that houses an important archive related to World War II, managed by the International Red Cross. The archive is formally known as the International Tracing Service Archives. It was originally established to help reunite families separated by the war and to provide information for locating missing persons. However, today, this archive holds immeasurable historical significance for studying and understanding World War II. The archive contains more than 30 million documents related to victims and survivors of the Nazi regime, including lists of concentration camps, records of prisoners of war, forced laborers, and more. These documents are not only invaluable historical witnesses, but also play a crucial role in investigating war responsibilities and identifying war criminals. One notable aspect of the archive is that most of the materials are original documents, which adds to their historical and academic value. Additionally, this vast collection has been instrumental in post-war research and in efforts to provide compensation to victims. Although the identities of victims were initially kept private, the archive was not fully accessible to the public until 2007. As the number of Holocaust survivors dwindles, the archive began a digitization project in 2016 to make the materials more widely accessible. Through initiatives like Every Name Counts, the stories of millions of victims continue to be shared with a global audience, ensuring that their experiences remain remembered as part of one of the darkest chapters in history. During World War II, Japan committed widespread atrocities across Southeast Asia, including burning, killing, looting, and stealing vast quantities of property. It is estimated that the treasures stolen by Japan are worth more than 100 billion US dollars. These included over 6,000 tons of gold, as well as large quantities of diamonds, jade, jewelry, antiques, and works of art. However, as the war drew to a close, the Japanese invaders realized they could no longer transport these treasures back to Japan. In response, they buried them in various locations. It is said that General Yamashita Tomoyuki, known as the Tiger of Malaya, was responsible for overseeing this burial plan, which is why these treasures are often referred to as Yamashita's gold. After the war, Yamashita was captured and hanged as a war criminal in Manila, the capital of the Philippines. The gold and silver treasures that he plundered from Southeast Asia before they could be transported back to Japan became a mystery. The story of Yamashita's gold was later popularized in books, documentaries, and movies, adding to the intrigue and mystique surrounding it. However, historians remain skeptical of its authenticity due to a lack of reliable sources and conclusive evidence. No Japanese government documents exist to prove that such a large treasure ever existed. Regardless, after World War II, many people attempted to locate and dig for the treasure in the mountains of the Philippines. Even the former president of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos, was involved in the search. In 1983, Marcos claimed that he had discovered Yamashita's gold under Fort Santiago in Manila and announced that he would soon retrieve it. However, after his resignation in 1986, the treasure was never found, and no one saw the wealth he supposedly uncovered. When Marcos stepped down, a government investigation revealed that he had accumulated billions of dollars in assets, even though he had entered office in 1966 with a net worth of less than 60,000 US dollars. While many believe that these assets were the result of corruption and bribery, the Philippine government has maintained that some of Marcos's wealth came from the fabled Yamashita gold. The USS Indianapolis was a giant battleship of the United States Navy, known for its many achievements. On July 30th, 1945, the ship was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine in the Philippine Sea after delivering components for the Little Boy atomic bomb to Tinian Island. In just 12 minutes, the 186-meter-long warship sank to the bottom of the sea. The attack occurred late at night, and most of the officers and sailors were asleep. Around 900 men were on board, and many of them were left floating in the sea, either shirtless or wearing only underwear. However, due to a series of mistakes and unfortunate circumstances, the sinking of the Indianapolis went unnoticed. For 3 days, the survivors were left adrift in the sea, facing deadly challenges such as hypothermia, dehydration, and starvation. What made this situation even more terrifying was the presence of sharks in the area. The strong scent of blood from the wounded and deceased attracted large numbers of sharks. These predators randomly attacked the soldiers still struggling in the water. Screams filled the air as the sharks tore into the men, and the water was stained red with blood. Tragically, every day, 100 to 200 soldiers succumbed to either the shark attacks or hypothermia. This horrific ordeal continued until the 4th day, when a Navy patrol plane spotted the survivors during a routine search. The US military immediately dispatched a rescue mission, but by then, it was too late. Only 317 men were rescued. In the end, over 600 men lost their lives, and the wreckage of the Indianapolis was not discovered for more than 70 years. In 2017, a private research team led by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen used advanced technology to finally locate the wreckage of the battleship in the Philippine Sea. The fallen heroes who sacrificed their lives during the war were found at the bottom of the ocean and were finally able to rest. On December 20th, 2018, the surviving crew members of the USS Indianapolis were posthumously awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. The wreck of the Indianapolis has since become one of the most iconic shipwrecks from World War II. In the bustling city of Berlin, the capital of Germany, there is a seemingly ordinary parking lot. However, beneath this parking lot lie the historical secrets of World War II. This is the location of the Führerbunker, where Hitler spent his final days. On January 16, 1945, as World War II was nearing its end and the Nazi regime was collapsing, Hitler decided to hide in this underground bunker. After that, he was rarely seen in public. The Führerbunker, originally designed as an air raid shelter, gradually became a permanent refuge for Hitler and other high-ranking Nazi officials as the war progressed. In this dark and damp underground space, Hitler held military briefings, made critical decisions, and even married his longtime companion, Eva Braun. The bunker became the final stage for Hitler and his wife, marking the end of both their lives and the collapse of Nazi Germany. This event marked the closing chapter of the European theater of World War II. The German government was concerned that the Führerbunker might become a site of pilgrimage for neo-Nazis, so it intentionally kept its exact location hidden. Over time, inconspicuous buildings, including office complexes and parking lots, were constructed above it. The bunker's existence seemed to be deliberately forgotten by the public. It wasn't until June 2006 that the location of Hitler's last hiding place was officially acknowledged. In the flow of history, the seemingly ordinary parking lot now holds an extraordinary past, which is both fascinating and sobering. However, the story didn't end there. Some conspiracy theorists continue to claim that Hitler secretly escaped from the Führerbunker, and his final whereabouts remain a mystery. They even suggested that he had an escape route and presented an image of a golden coffin supposedly found in a swampy forest. The coffin, adorned with inscriptions that appeared to be from the Nazi era, allegedly contained a corpse that closely resembled Hitler, seemingly undisturbed by time. While most people dismiss the photograph as a hoax, there is still endless speculation about the true fate of this war-driven madman. What do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. During World War II, Nazi Germany launched numerous offensives, attacking Poland, occupying France, bombing the United Kingdom, and invading the Soviet Union. Reflecting on these achievements, it's clear that the German soldiers of that time were not only tough, but also relentless. Anyone who faced the German army was struck by their machine-like efficiency. Soldiers marched tirelessly behind armored vehicles all day, only to jump straight into battle without rest upon reaching their destination. What kind of force was driving these soldiers? After the war, as more information came to light, it was revealed that the German soldiers were collectively using drugs. In the 1930s, the most popular drug in Germany was a substance called bomadine. This drug was sold to the public, but its ingredients were kept secret. People knew it was affordable and powerful. Porters could carry bricks for days without tiring, and long-distance drivers could drive through the night without rest. Its effects were remarkable. The drug quickly caught the attention of the military, and the Nazis began mass-producing it for their soldiers. renaming it the energy pill. Before battles, soldiers would take one of these small white pills. The drug would immediately take effect, making their scalp tingle, sharpening their senses, and filling them with energy. They felt as though they were an unsheathed sword, their weariness vanishing in an instant, replaced by a surge of fighting spirit. On April 12, 1939, a single pharmaceutical company in Berlin supplied 29 million of these OBM pills to the Nazi Army and Air Force. The German High Command issued strict orders for the confidentiality of this matter, threatening anyone who leaked details with dire consequences. Despite these precautions, rumors of the Nazi leadership's drug use eventually surfaced, including that Hitler himself was addicted to these substances. According to German scholar Norman Ohler, who wrote The Drug Problem in Nazi Germany, by the end of the war, Hitler's stockpiles of drugs had been depleted. He experienced severe withdrawal symptoms, including paranoia, psychosis, tremors, tooth decay, and kidney failure. These health problems were a result of the drugs initially administered to treat his chronic illnesses. The very drugs that had once helped the Nazi army achieve seemingly invincible feats ultimately contributed to the collapse of Hitler's regime. Well, that concludes today's video. Which of the 10 fascinating discoveries of World War II discussed today left the biggest impression on you? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.